Alright everyone, as promised, my very first flight with the DJI FPV will be here on camera, so if I crash, you'll see it. I really hope I'm not going to crash. I'm going to leave it in full regular manual, or not, I'm going to leave it in regular mode, so we'll have the optical sensors and everything. So we're going to play it safe and work our way into it. I plan on going to a high school, but that's going to have to happen later on during the weekend, because, you know, school's in session. I can't be there zooming this thing around, so that'll be another video. But what I'm going to do for you today is I have an obstacle course around the yard that I'm going to fly through. First, I'm going to go ahead and put the GoPro in the goggles, and I'm going to fly this thing just line of sight, go through, that way you can see what the goggles see. And then I'm going to put the goggles on and give you that experience as to what I feel. There's been reports, some people say that they feel dizzy or they get a little motion sick, so I'll let you know. I've never felt motion sick on an airplane or a boat, so, or even when I flew helicopters in the Army, I never felt any of that. And I apologize that the wind buffets the mic a little too much. Doing the best I can. I got a really good Rode mic on this microphone, on this camera. But so before we get into it, I want to touch on a couple of things. I mentioned in my unbox video that a fear of mine is having the goggles on and having somebody come confront you and you won't see it. And it actually just happened to YouTuber, the original Dobo. He had a lady come up, tap him on the shoulder, and sit there and say, "Your drone's loud, it's scaring birds, they're protected, blah blah." You know, whatever, lady, just, you know. He handled it better than me. I would have freaking cussed that lady out, told her what I thought of her and her birds. But yeah, so also another thing I want to talk about is a lot of the FPV guys, or maybe even some just reviewers, I should suggest just say reviewers, have said that this thing feels weak, that it feels plastic, and I'm gonna say I don't see what they're talking about. This thing feels absolutely firm. It feels very strong to me. Now granted, in manual mode this thing can go 80 plus miles an hour, and if you hit something, yeah, it's probably gonna vaporize. I know that the FPV drones are basically built like a wafer of 2 carbon fiber boards, and it makes it extremely strong. So, you know, like I said, this is a hybrid between the GPS and a FPV to get people into the market without having to build a drone and, you know, having the knowledge of the batteries and all this other stuff. So it is what it is, but I don't think it's weak. I think if anything, maybe it might snap off this gear here in the front, but you know, I don't know. Hopefully I'll never find out. I have seen some videos, some people going real low to the ground have broken some of the arms, but they were moving really high speed in manual. So, but all in all, I don't think it's very weak at all. And then one other thing I want to touch on is I've seen a couple of videos out there misspoke, whatever, about needing your cell phone to fly. Generally, when you fly the other drones, actually any of DJI's drones, you can take off with just a remote and the drone and fly it. You don't really need to be connected to the app. And I just shot a shorts video with this, and you can do the same thing with this, and I'll show you here in a minute. You can actually fly this thing with just the remote, with the goggles not powered on. But you don't need your cell phone connected to the goggles to fly this thing. The only thing your cell phone does for you is allows a second person to see what you're seeing, minus the telemetry. Only the goggles have the telemetry showing your speed, altitude, and all that. Your cell phone doesn't, but you don't need it to fly. Now, the cell phone is handy for updating, because it'll update all 3 pieces if need be, which, like I found out when I got this and updated, there's an update for the battery. So if you have the Fly More combo and you have the 2 additional batteries, when you're doing your updating, when everything's done, go ahead and put in that other battery and get the updates to all the batteries, because there is an update for the battery as of right now, March 2021, and this was just released from DJI, so there was already an update for the battery. So when I did the drone initially, it did the update for the battery that was in it. So go ahead and do yourself a favor with that. So first I'm going to show you that this thing can fly with just a remote, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the GoPro in the goggles, and I'm going to do a lap around the house so that way I can watch the drone and see if it'll actually fit through these things, and then we're going to go in with the goggles. So I'm sitting here on a bench in the backyard. I've heard from some people that they get motion sick wearing the goggles. So I'm gonna be safe and sit down on the ground. Now, I've never felt sick on a cruise ship, on an airplane, or when I flew helicopters in the Army. I never felt sick, but I've never had goggles like this. So except for like night vision goggles, which I don't know, it's probably like a whole different thing. I don't know, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a shot. I'm gonna be safe. I recommend you probably do the same. That way, if you feel dizzy, you're not gonna fall over and you're safely planted. So let me go ahead and show you how to start this thing up with, or that you can start up without the goggles, in case you didn't see my shorts video. And then we're gonna do a lap around the yard. Okay. Here is the battery for the goggles. There's the cable. So we're gonna put that off to the side. Here are the goggles. There's nothing connected to them. There's no way for them to be powered. There's no internal battery. We're gonna turn on the remote. I'm gonna turn on the drone. Now we gotta wait for these green lights to stop flashing. It's not connected while those are flashing. Okay, so you just heard the beep. It's connected. So we're gonna bring these two in like any other DJI drone. There you have it. And you're flying. There you go. Hey, you don't need to even have the goggles to fly this around. Alright, here's obstacle one. We're going to try to go through this ladder. The cool thing is, with this thing having GPS capabilities, I can let it hover there. But now I'm going to try to shoot this gap right here between the fence. And then once I do that, we're going to go inside. I'm going to go put the goggles on. It is a little bit windy out, so it's definitely going to make it more challenging. Okay, so this feels weird, totally weird. SD card speed low. Wow, I wonder how fast. These are like U3s. So yeah, you know what? I see people when they're flying the drones looking up in that. So I can tell you, no matter which way you look, it's always the same image. And if you do that, yeah, you will get. That feels weird. So yeah, I suggest you just kind of like hold your head as still as possible. So no matter what you do, it's just like a TV screen. It doesn't move. It's not like virtual reality where you turn your head. You'll see a different image. Wow, I'm already feeling a little. Wow. Okay. And do a loop around the big tree. Oh wow, oh, that banks. This thing's fast. Alright, I'm going for it through the, it's beeping at me. And we made it through that. Alright, I gotta reset the cameras up for the next obstacle. Well, let's go back through it again while we got the camera set up. I can tell you, it's really hard to tell where the drone is. It's kind of nice that the props are in view. Oh yeah, I'm getting a warning about a piloted aircraft. Oh my god. So, I know that there's plenty of room for the drone to make it through there. But it looks like from here, like the props are gonna hit. It's freaking weird. So that's why I put that crosshair up. That little X you see in the screen. That way I kind of know where the center of everything is. The wind's really not helping. God, it looks like the freaking props should hit. Wow. Oh yeah, it's getting bounced around pretty good. Let me go set up for the next shot. Weird, I'm like looking around trying to find the remote and it's not here. Alright, I'm going to try zipping around the house now. We'll try not to crash this thing. So yeah, the crosshairs looked pretty much dead center. Whoa, wow. Man, when you bank this thing, you really see it in the goggles. Wow. Holy smoke. Whoa. Alright, I'm feeling dizzy, man. Yeah, I'm just going to do some laps around the house, practice kind of going up and down. Around, let's go around the tree here. So look at that. Oh, ooh, that feels freaking weird. I'll tell you what, this thing could definitely turn way better than any of my other drones. Probably getting cocky like that's how I'm going to end up crashing this thing. If I was an FPV guy, I would shoot that gap full speed ahead, but I'm not going to. Who wants to see the roof of the garage? Look, there's my roof. How tall it is. Actually, yeah. I wonder I see how high. It's about 20 feet. Makes sense, the corners are 14. I'll tell you what, man, the image through the goggles is pretty amazing. I mean, you can really see like tree branches and that show up pretty good. Wow, the wind is... And I can see that power line right there. So the image is pretty good through here. Whoa. I need to get used to holding that pause button. Look at that, man. It like stops fast. So first impressions, that is weird. That is totally a different flying experience having those goggles on. I did feel a little queasy when that thing banks. I kind of felt like I was moving with it. So yeah, I do think there's some truth definitely to it, that you can feel a little motion sick and weird with that. So yeah, be careful. Like I said, good thing I was sitting down because I felt weird. Definitely recommend you take the baby steps. I mean, I was getting a little cocky in that just regular mode. I felt pretty fast. I can picture sport mode is going to double that speed. That's probably where everybody's going to get in trouble, that in manual mode. Man, this wind. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go up front and I'm going to do a range test and see how it does in urban environments. So let's go up front and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Wow. So usually I don't have much in the way of good luck, but this really is. You're not gonna believe this. I just got done filming back here and I was moving my camera gear out front and I heard a boom, and the ladder that I was just flying under and had a GoPro strap to and a 360 underneath here, and I was just flying the drone underneath, just fell. That's how strong the wind is blowing. Wow. Had I been flying the drone underneath that when that happened, yeah, I would have freaking destroyed the drone. Man, dodged a bullet with that one. That was lucky. It usually doesn't happen too often in my life, but I'm gonna thank the powers above for not crashing my drone. Figure I shared it with you. Okay, now I'm gonna go up front and we'll do a little range test. So, as you can see behind me, there's a lot of woods and all that. I'm kind of really out in the country. I'm not within the city limits of anything, so I have a lot of woods that block my signal when I take a drone up. Now I know from flying like the Mini 2 and my Mavic Air 2 and all my other drones, there's a spot in the beginning of the subdivision here where they're building some houses. That's about as far as I can get. It's maybe a mile. I'm not sure if it's that far, but because of the trees and where I sit, that's about as far as I can get. This drone uses OcuSync 3, so I'm going to give it a real-world test and see if the range is any better going through the trees. Like I said, I know most people do range tests, they go out over the water or big open land, but this is real world. We're going to see what it does with obstacles in the way. Oh, I'm actually loving this drone, absolutely loving it. This thing is a blast to fly. So on my range test, yes, the drone did go a bit further than what like my Mavic Air 2 has been able to do. So it did go a bit further, not by a lot, but it did go further. The nice thing is the transmission signal getting in the goggles was absolutely crystal clear up until I got to a certain point. And what's cool is like the image will start getting blurry in the edges of the goggle to let you know that you're starting to break transmission, instead of having to read the bottom of the screen and always look at where your signal strength is. So that's kind of a cool feature with the FPV. So now the goggles, yes, it definitely takes a little bit of getting used to. It's weird. I did feel a little queasy going in the backyard. I misspoke and I wasn't able to correct it. I'm having an issue with my editing software. My titles seem to disappear. I'm trying to get that fixed, but I said it was a 2-axis gimbal. It's really just a one. The gimbal only goes up and down. There's no left and right. So when you take a turn, the whole image, like you saw earlier, the image turns. So when you're looking at that in the goggle and your image is doing this and you're not moving with it, it's kind of like weird. It's hard to explain, but you really have to put on the goggles to feel that. Now, a nice thing with the goggles is even on a nice bright sunny day, you can see the image crystal clear. It's always been a problem in the GPS realm of seeing your image. That's why people have bought tablets and other things that are try to be that are brighter. It's one of the reasons early on I invested in the Crystal Sky. This is like a 1000 nit monitor. Unfortunately, DJI doesn't update this anymore, so the newer drones won't fly with it. Instead, they want you to spend all your money on the smart controller, and I did, because I don't want to crash my drone, because I didn't see the details of like a little tree branch or something in the way, a power line, telephone wire, something. These screens are very, very bright. You can see them in daylight, no problem. And I just feel like out of an abundance of safety, it's worth it to be able to see where your drone is going, to have the smart controller, or if you have an older drone, the Crystal Sky. So the goggles take care of that. Also, another unique thing, and those of you that have flown RC planes, drones, or maybe even RC cars will understand this. Flying with the goggles on is actually almost a little bit easier to control the aircraft. And I say this because you're always looking at the camera of the drone. So the drone is always going in the same direction, right? And think about it, this makes sense. Now, when I say this, when you're operating any type of remote control vehicle towards you, the sticks get backwards. Like left and right is backwards. So if you want to go right, you have to go left. Left is right. You know, it's backwards because now it's coming at you. You're facing away from it. So like when you're landing and stuff and you go to make little adjustments, it's backwards. Or if you're flying, and that's what gets, I think, some people in trouble when they're coming at themselves really quick. And they're like, oh no, there's the wall. And so they see the wall and they initially, they see it's going this way and they throttle that way thinking it'll go, but the sticks are backwards and they go full speed into a wall or a tree. So that being said, with the goggles on, you're always going that same direction. You never have to think about, even if the drone's coming at you, that the sticks are backwards. Kind of a little unique perspective. I didn't think or hear anybody mention about flying with goggles before. So there you have it, man. I love it. I'm absolutely loving this drone. It's everything I expected it to be. I'm going to slowly start working my way into sport mode, which I did on the way back. Fighting the wind, the drone was only going like 20, so I kicked it into sport mode and zoomed home really quick, and I got up to like 60. Man, that is freaking bonkers. 60 miles an hour, and it'll go faster in manual mode. But yeah, I got up to like 60. That is one thing though that surprised me with this, is how much the wind kind of beats this thing up. I kind of thought it having a little bit more power and a little more prop to grab the air, it wouldn't. I noticed when I was flying, I could tell the wind was really pushing it because the whole image was sideways. So I know the drone was getting kicked and pushed. Where any other drones, you'll never notice it because of the 3-axis gimbal. If the drone is getting rocked or beat up, the image is steady, so you never notice it, except for in your speed. So, yeah. But other than that, yeah. Next step is I'm going to go out to, there's a high school that I like to go out to. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing but open farmers fields out there. And I think I'm going to experiment with some manual mode. I want to get, this is where altitude will be my friend. I want to get up about like 300 feet and try some loops. That way if I don't recover in time, I got time to hit the oh shit button and the drone will recover. It's a really nice feature with this drone. And then we'll try to experiment with some rolls and that. You know, then as you get better, you get closer to the ground, because you know, closer to the ground, you have less time to recover. So altitude will be your friend in this thing, in this case. And then in manual mode too, I can just go out there and go full speed ahead because I know there's nothing in the way. So look for that video to come. I'm going to take the FPV drone out there, and I'll take my GPS drones and kind of show you some of the differences in the way they fly. So hopefully that interests you. Appreciate the support, everyone. Likes, shares, comments appreciated. If you want to buy one of these drones, I have a link down in the Amazon store to all the gear that I use. Things like this Insta360 One X2. I'm going to be doing a review on that. It's right for the average person, somebody that doesn't do YouTube, wants to film stuff. So I'll be doing a video on that. Tech made easy here. We're not going to get into real technical stuff. We're just going to see if products apply to everyday use and if you should invest in them. So hopefully you find that interesting. I get you to go down there, subscribe. If you want to buy one of the drones direct from DJI, I have a discount code for you down there. I have discounts for several pieces of merchandise. Like I said, you go to my Amazon store and you can see all the merchandise that I've reviewed or that I use, and it all helps the channel grow. So like, shares, comments appreciated, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Happy camping, safe flying, and hope you enjoy the content. Thanks for watching. This always happens. I get all set up to film, get all this stuff out here, and the lawn service has to show up next door. Oh well. Guess we'll just have another cup of coffee in the meantime.